back to day 2 of the course in mastery. Today's exciting. It's about putting your dreams on paper.
I'd like you to do. Number 1, get a journal. Not just any old journal, not scraps of paper, but a journal that represents you. Here's why. Over the next 30 days, and hopefully over the next year or two, you'll be writing in that journal your hopes, your ideas, your dreams, your strategies, and you want to look back at that journal and say, this journal represents me. It represents what I'm about. So get a journal that really represents you. The second thing I want you to do is open up that journal and start dreaming. Put your pen down on paper and write for 30 minutes all your goals, your ideas, your strategies, your thoughts about what you want and what you know you deserve for the future. Be specific when you write. Write down in incredible detail everything you want. Act like you're 13 or 14 and you can have anything you want. Don't stop writing or dreaming for 30 minutes. The third thing you want to do is take each goal and write A, B, or C. Now, if you don't have your goals yet, you can't do that. So stop the video and go write your goals. Take 20 to 30 minutes and do that now. Now, A are all the things that are really important. B are the things that you really want but aren't really necessary. And C are those things that, yeah, it would be nice, but I don't have to have it. List them all, A, B, or C. Don't worry if there's more in one category or the other. Just write down A, B, or C based on what you want and how you feel. Don't judge it based on whether you think you can do it or not. Judge it based just on what you want. Go ahead and do that now. The fourth step is to take all the A goals and mark them 1, 2, or 3. Again, 1 are the ones you really want. 2 are the things you like to have but aren't that important. And 3s are the, well, if I got them, they would be great for all of the A's. Mark them 1, 2, or 3. Again, base this on what you want, not what you think you can accomplish. Step 5. Take all of the A1s and decide which 3 would be the ones you'd want more than any 3. Then write out each one on a separate piece of paper. Take each goal and write down in incredible detail why you want that goal, what having that goal would mean for you. Now again, don't worry about whether it can be accomplished or not. Write down the ones that you really, really want. This is critical before we go on to the next step. The final step is to put a date on each goal. Now I know this may be uncomfortable because some of these goals you may not even know how you're going to achieve it. That's okay. How will come later. Right now, put a date that stretches you a little bit. Because putting a date on something creates urgency, and urgency creates action. And action is what will help you get to your goal. It's important that if you haven't done this yet, to do it now. Don't do it later today. Don't do it tomorrow. Do this now. We know that successful people take action immediately. This is really about you. It's for you, not for your boss, not for your significant other or your kids or for anyone else. Do this for you and do it now. Once that's done, you'll start to feel a lot better and you'll also be prepared for tomorrow. So we'll see you then.
Thanks, Tom. Today's clip is from Olympic gold medalist John Naber, who tells a fascinating story about fellow Olympian Vladimir Selnikov. Let's check it out.
Now, what is that area of life that matters most to you? If I were to say, let's see your dream come true, what would that be? You see, if the process is seeing a dream come true, let's begin with step number 1, which is frankly having a dream. I'm the parent of a daughter. She's now off in college. I'm an empty nester. But before she left, we talked about what dreams meant. It's not what happens when your head hits the pillow, but rather it's the desire to experience an emotional response. I didn't want to win the gold medal in the 100-meter backstroke nearly as much as I wanted at one point in my life to feel like the best in the world at something. If that feeling comes true, it almost doesn't matter how fast I swam or who was watching. If the feeling comes true, my dream came true. In 1976, I won the lion's share of the medals at those Olympic Games, and a swimmer from the Soviet Union came walking up to me. He says in the voice that sounds like Boris Badenov in the Bullwinkle comics, "Congratulations, John. Someday I too want to feel like a champion." 1976. They're the evil empire. These are the bad guys. And he's speaking to me in English. It made me read the name on his credential. Vladimir Selnikov. Vladimir Selnikov. I love saying it. It rolls off the tongue like Antonio Banderas. Vladimir Selnikov was a distance swimmer. The longest race in Olympic swimming is the 1,500 meters freestyle. Down and back, a 50-meter pool, half the length of a football field, 15 times. Now, the name Roger Bannister is famous for what great achievement? First man to break the 4-minute mile. That's a significant barrier because the mile is 4 laps, 4 minutes. It's a minute a lap. It's a big barrier. Brian Goodell won the gold medal in the 1500 that year, as he describes in his chapter of my book. And he won the gold swimming the distance in 15 minutes, 2.5 seconds, a new world record. The world is knocking on the barrier, this significant milestone, and so we're all waiting to see who's going to be the first man under 15 minutes in the 1500 free. Now, I retired shortly after my Olympics, began a career in broadcasting, and I started doing my research. Now, in 1980, the Olympics that followed mine, that I was all prepared to cover, those were the games Jimmy Carter announced the Americans should not attend. It was the boycott Olympics. So we couldn't go, television couldn't go, we didn't get to cover the Olympics. And I had to wait for the August issue of Swimming World magazine to show up in my mailbox to find out who did what in each event. And on the cover of that magazine was the familiar face of the Russian swimmer. Now, if you get your face on the cover of a magazine, there's a sentence that describes what did he do. But this month, no words, not even a letter. Just the number, 14:58.27. He did it. He broke the barrier, got the gold medal, was the big champion in swimming at those Olympics. And in 1981, I run into Vladimir at the World University Games. I come running up with a microphone. Vladimir, you told me you wanted to feel like a champion. You now have the gold. Was it everything you'd hoped for? And he says, no, John. I do not feel like champion. I win the race, but these boycott games, there's nobody in the pool. For me to feel like champion, I must be in the water, racing the best, touching the wall first, then I will feel like champion. I must train for 4 more years. 4 years later, the Olympics come to Los Angeles, and the Russians don't. They boycotted us in return, and so he's watching his black and white television set in Moscow as American Mike O'Brien wins the race without breaking 15 minutes. 1985, World or European Championships. I come running up to Vladimir. Vladimir, you're still the only man on the planet better than 15 minutes. Now you must feel like a champion. And he says, no, John, I do not feel like champion. I must be in the water, racing the best, touching first, then I will feel like champion. I must train for 4 more years. I say it's the first time I ever heard a Russian sound like Richard Nixon. 3 years later, 1987 European Championships, 1,500 meters freestyle, Vladimir Selnikov finishes 9th. You see, it's very rare in my sport for a career to last over time. You defend a national title year to year, that's really good. You defend an Olympic title, that's almost unheard of. And he's trying to be the best in the world over 4 Olympic Games. Not one of the best 8 in his continent, still one of the best 2 in his country. He did, in fact, make his 4th Olympic team. And in 1988, before the fall of the wall, the Soviet Union had a minister of sport whose office was in the Kremlin for the purpose of promoting their government's propaganda. And he had a meeting with Vladimir that went something like this. Vladimir, 4th Olympic team, very, very good. But your times lately, not so fast. You already have the gold medal. You already have the world record. But if you go to the Olympics, you will embarrass our country. Come as an assistant coach, ambassador, but please do not swim. And in a nation that prized obedience more than anything else, Vladimir stood up and he said, but I must swim. So when he walked out onto the pool deck in Seoul, Korea, in 1988, he had a black check mark on his Communist Party membership card because he was willing to risk the government's agenda in the pursuit of his personal dream. When he walked out onto the pool deck, swimmers from every country in the world had been raised for the last 12 years in the shadow of this great man. And they'd all walk up to him. Germans and Russians and Italians and Canadians and Americans would all come and say, Vladimir, it's good to see you. You look great. We wish you the best of luck. We hope you win the gold. And they'd come walking over to me, the commentator, and they'd say, but it would take a miracle because this guy's old. At the time, he was 27 years old. Old for a swimmer, I guess. Bryant Gumbel throws live to John Naber and Don Crickey for the start of the men's 1500. Don says, who do we like? And I tell the truth, I'm a journalist. The fastest qualifier was the East German, followed by the West German. The American is a dark horse hope for a bronze medal. Bang goes the starting gun. 8 swimmers hit the pool. And if you ever watch live television of the Olympic Games, you know they stay nowhere for 15 consecutive minutes. We break for commercial. Out of commercial, a little volleyball, a little boxing, a little track and field. They rejoin the swimming race with about a minute to go, and lo and behold, who is leading the field in the outside lane? The Russian swimmer, Vladimir Salnikov. You see, he'd put a burst of speed in the middle of the race. He'd broken from the pack, and the field said, it's just the old man, and they let him run. But as the race approached its conclusion, the pursuit guys said, hey, he's not slowing down. Come on, guys, let's get him. And in unison, they started increasing their turnover and decreasing his lead. They're now 5 feet away, and then 3 feet away, and then 1 foot. They're nipping at his toes. And I remember I haven't told the viewers at home this wonderful human interest story. So when they join us live, I hear my own voice say, Don, this guy came in 976. What if you like champion? 4 years later, breaks for Naber, but didn't count because the boy got to go 1984. When he can come to, and I'm telling all this story all at once, just gushing with the backstory. The crowd's yelling and cheering. I stop to catch my breath. And I note at the far end, the American swimmers not racing that night sit together in the bleachers. They've got white nylon sweat jackets with blue USA on the chest, and they're all out there yelling. The team captain has his back to the water. He's waving his sweat jacket, and he's leading the American team in a cheer that goes, Go, Vladimir! Go, Vladimir! I don't know if Vladimir could actually hear them or not, but I do know we've zoomed in for the final 3 strokes, and Vladimir turns on his side. He extends his long hand, and his finger touches the plastic timing device at the end of the pool. And he stops the clock, slower than 15 minutes, but faster than any other swimmer in the pool. Everyone's yelling, everyone's cheering. The camera zooms in for that all-important reaction shot, and the Russian blows a kiss in the direction of the American Olympic team. But the best stories at the Olympics don't conveniently happen in front of television cameras. What happened next took me 3 months to hear about. Vladimir was taken out of the water, damp towel dried, proceeded out for the award ceremonies, where he got another gold medal placed over his neck, and he stood to attention and listened to what would become the final playing of the Soviet anthem in Olympic swimming history. At the next games, they came as the unified team. They played the Republic anthems. This is the last time the Soviet anthem would play at an Olympic swimming event. Most swimmers can't keep food down the day of a gold medal race, but at the end of that day, we're famished. After he went through the press conference and the dope testing, he went back to the cafeteria like the one with the tea bag. 10:30 at night, he walks into a room with a wet towel over his shoulder and a nylon gym bag in his hand. When he steps into the room, about 300 athletes are finishing their late night snack. When Vladimir walks in the door, people do a double take. Heads are turned, thumbs are pointed, whispers begin. Vladimir, son, I remember when did you hear he just won? 2 American swimmers in the back of the room push their chairs back, they stand up, and they put their hands together. 2 become 4, the 4 become 8, the 8 become 16, and pretty soon Vladimir Salnikov drops his towel, his bag, and his jaw as he stares at a standing ovation delivered by athletes from every country and every sport in the Olympic movement. At 10 o'clock the following morning, Vladimir Salnikov announced his retirement from swimming. Because it wasn't the medallion, it wasn't the 15-minute barrier that moved him so many times. Rather, it was the desire to experience a particular emotional response.
That's it for day 2. Tomorrow we'll be talking about a strategy that helped Tom Wood go from $75,000 in debt to earning millions. You won't want to miss that. See you tomorrow.